fiends, friends, and familiars. It is your old pal, your new pal, Matt Orozco, and I am joined by my good pal.
Lowell Greenblatt, how's it going?
Heyo, this is another episode of Macabre Monthly. I should have looked up the episode number in the invite before this, but I didn't.
In
So
it's
I'm going to do it
always
real quick.
episode 666. That's
Exactly. Or in this case, 228, but we were, same thing. And this is going to be a fun one. I know we've talked about this before, kind of doing a version, and we should at least acknowledge that the idea for this episode, while we'd love to stake claim to it originality, we are riffing on the well-known Shockwaves um, hot horror takes with our
oh,
own little version. Yes, with our little spicy horror opinions. So it's gonna get caliente today, but we will always be respectful. Always excited to hear where what are our opinions that we don't think other people will agree with, and just to see the reactions and the conversations those can generate. So I've got some good ones. I'm not going to repeat my most famous one about It Follows because I feel like that
yeah,
song's been played to death.
at this point. That's just in your bio.
Yeah, and that's yeah, and I'm so no repeats on this one, no whammies. But Lowell, how have you been? How's your end of summer treating you?
Okay, pretty good, a little not so good, but mostly good. I'm just really tired. I feel like I look like I'm about to fall asleep. I assure you I'm not, but I'm like, wow, you can kind of see the wear and tear of all the fun that I'm having. Um, I'm so behind. I haven't listened to the last episode of Core 4, and I haven't seen Alien Romulus or Cuckoo yet. Um, I
How dare?
they're so they're etched on my list. But overall I'm good. Just been watching horror movies, doing a lot of writing and staying cool. Although today was like a nice like mid 60s, early
Mm.
70s day. And after a summer of oh my God, we're all gonna die just by stepping outside, I kind of like that.
Yes, it's going to jump back up in temperature out here next week, but not significantly. So I'm just enjoying the 50-degree evenings and the nice crisp mornings. But I'm also a reptile, so I like it really cold wherever I am at all times. But that's good to hear. Well, I wanted to start things off as we always do, talking about what we've been watching. Well, I have seen some of the movies that you have not, so I'm going to defer to you first. What have you been spending your eyeballs and watching? Spending your eye. That's a weird thing to say. I'm just going to say, what have you been watching?
I watched Elric Kane's The Dead Thing, which just premiered at Fantasia. It was an interesting bit of lo-fi horror. It was cool to finally see like what he can do with a feature after years and years of listening to him. And I actually got to interview him, which was like a bucket list interview. I'm like, oh my
Great
God,
interview.
talking to the guy. And it was cool. I sort of wonder how it will be received. It felt he might disagree with this and other people might disagree with this, but I was reminded a little bit of Starry Eyes. Not even
Huh.
so much in the kind of horror that it was, but just like the vibe of it. It felt not quite mumblecore-y, but just like really it's vibes for days, and I really dug that. Um,
Side
I
note: Starry Eyes is celebrating its 10-year
shut
anniversary this
your mouth.
year.
Shut your mouth. No, it's not. No, it's
Yeah.
not. How dare you say such lies? That movie came out last week, you son of a bitch. Yeah,
Time
that
flies,
I still remember like 2014 was an incredible year for horror between that and The
especially
Battery.
indies.
Yeah. Oh yeah, indie horror, absolutely. Um, but yeah, I also watched Hellhole, the new film from the
Oh
Addams family,
yeah.
which was a lot of fun. It's on Shudder this Friday. It's them doing a creature feature like The Thing or Alien, and they work with like a full crew this time. They have a production company behind them, but it's still very much an Addams Family film. and they worked with Todd Masters, special effects legend over in Serbia, and it's a gooey good time. I really liked it, and I was also jazzed to see that Joe Bob played Cemetery Man this past Friday.
Yeah,
Does and like my wife doesn't watch a lot of horror, but she loves Cemetery Man, and we never miss Joe Bob. So the fact that it was Joe Bob doing Cemetery Man was like it's she like is
that's a
gonna
perfect eclipse Venn diagram.
yeah, yeah, it was great. Um, and I feel like since the last time we talked, I rewatched The Crow, but I'm always rewatching The Crow because it's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, it's
It's
a good
a
one.
fucking banger. And yeah, I am gonna see the remake because I have to. But maybe it'll surprise me. Also, something I forgot since last time, I did finally purchase a region-free Blu-ray 4K player because
Yes.
I had 4K capability before, but I didn't have region free for Blue. And man, like Second Sight Films is gonna put a lien on my house. Like they owned me. In like one fell swoop, I had pre-ordered Your Next, which just came out on their 4K. I got Dawn of the Dead, I got Inside, and I got May, and I got the second sights of all of those, and man,
I mean, you're set. You're set.
that's
They
I
just they just came in today.
yeah,
Um,
I got mine last
and
week. Awesome. Mhm.
but yeah, that's you are welcome to the club, and I'm sorry to your wallet.
Yeah, it's beautiful here, but it's also destitute. But that's fine. What about you? What have you been watching?
Oh, brother, I have been to the theater more this summer than I've probably been in any summer in recent memory.
To hear it.
So, hot horror summer is certainly a thing. So, because my memory is shot to shit, I'm just going to hit my letterboxd. So, what have I been watching? All right, let's start with The First Omen, which I had been meaning to watch. And
Sorry,
yes, did you
I
see
was gonna.
this?
I did, but I was also gonna say I watched Immaculate too because it just dropped on Hulu, and I'd seen the first Omen already, and it's kind of strange how similar they are.
Huh.
And I did kind of like them. I did ultimately like them both, but I think I liked Immaculate more because it didn't have the baggage of the Omen
Mm.
franchise. I kind of felt like, you know, the Omen got shoehorned into whatever movie the first Omen was meant to be, which kind of took away some of its zing. But Immaculate doesn't have that. Immaculate is like its own movie. Honestly, they might even take place in the same universe. Like I'm sure there's a way to connect those two. But but yeah, like First Omen, I'm like, man, I would love this so much more if it wasn't trying to be shoved into a franchise. But go ahead.
No, I mean that's more or less how I feel. Like I was genuinely surprised by it, I would say, because it there certainly goes there many times in ways that most studio horror films don't, like hardly ever these days. So I think I appreciate the ballsiness of some of the some of the scenes, and also it does in some way. Like some of them, it's a bit like it's a bit silly, like the whole car accident thing. I'm like, okay, like that's completely absurd and insane, but it's also quite awesome.
There's
So
a
I'm here
full-on
for it.
possession reference. Like they just basically copy that scene after the car accident, and I'm like, is this great or is this hack? I don't know, but I kind of appreciate that it's happening either way.
It feels very Italian. It feels like we're doing this because it's been done, it works, and it's audacious. So from that perspective, I mean, I think I liked it more than I probably like. I liked it more than I thought I would because even though it is affiliated with the Omen, it doesn't really feel like that until the very end. And so from that perspective, I was like, okay, this gets a pass. Um, and then I did watch a great documentary that if anyone is an Italian horror fan, and it's surprising that like considering how much content and how many people are talking about content these days, no one's watched this that I've been following or seen. But it's called Il Sogno del Tempo, or like Dream Time is the English translation. It's a 2 hour documentary about basically the period from 1985 to 1994 when Cemetery Man was released, the Italian horror genre, and like basically how that was the beginning of the end of Italian horror genre cinema. And it's really great. It kind of has a Fulci for fake approach where it like blends a little bit of narrative, and it's kind of funny because they're Italian, so like feels very dramatic and just like they do these like long stares at the camera, but at the same time they talk to people like Lamberto Bava, they talk to Fiore Argento, they talk to Fabio Frizzi, they talk to Luigi Cosi, like all these different people that are still alive. And the thesis of the movie is that in 1985, when Demons was released, by that was the beginning of the end of Italian genre cinema. And then the last great horror film that Italy produced was Cemetery Man in 1994. So they have Michele Soavi, who
Do
talks
you
about
have
it a lot.
like a trailer or something for this? Because my wife would
Yeah,
absolutely love it.
it's a great documentary. Again, it's not perfect, but if you like Italian horror and you like documentaries, this is just. And there's also been nothing really like this that kind of covers this particular point in time in this level of detail. Because in Search of Darkness, they'll like have like sections that are like 30 minutes maybe at length about Italian horror or something, but it's always very surface level. It never really gets into like the people, the converse, what was there, what was happening then.
Bumpers almost between the years, like
Yeah.
how, yeah.
So that was a really good surprise. And then onto the noteworthy summer closer horror film. So I saw Cuckoo.
Mhm.
I I don't know. First of all, I'm not a big Tillman Singer fan. Like I did not like Lose, but I like this more than Lose.
Mhm.
Dan Stevens is an absolute treasure, and we must protect him at all costs because his hammed up like German doctor in this movie is just worth the movie alone, like worth the price of admission. It's so good. He's so good. So see it for Dan Stevens. It's there's a really weird and funny movie buried underneath this, but
Mhm.
it almost is like underdeveloped. There is just a bunch of ideas with and they're so absurd, the ideas, that they almost require an explanation. Like it's like it's not a racer head, right? So it's like you can't just throw a bunch of spaghetti at the wall and just people will be like, oh, this is genius, right? This is more like, all right, we're telling a story here. So if we're going to go the narrative route, these weird things have to make sense. I don't know if I fully got it. I do think I need to see it again. I'm in no rush. I actually would rather watch Long Legs again to revisit that than I would Cuckoo,
Same.
just because I think there's more. Well, I just think there's more for me to chew on with Long Legs than Cuckoo. I don't think Cuckoo's all that deep. I think it's just all really weird. But it will have its fans. And then I saw Alien Romulus.
Mhm.
Um, this has been getting a lot of praise, and I don't think it's unwarranted. But I also think that, and this is something we'll get to in our maybe our spicy horror opinions, but like it plays like a greatest hits reel. And while I can understand why people like that, it's also kind of the antithesis of what I think the Alien franchise at its best is, which is really gritty, dark, and like almost slow and methodical,
Mhm.
but with a massive punch every now and then. Like, and Alien Romulus just doesn't. It feels like it's trying to do. It's taking a little bit of every Alien movie, putting it in a blender, and then like hitting like pulse a couple times.
Mhm.
And the end result is like it's fine, but the more you think about it, the more you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't make not that it doesn't make sense. It's just it's kind of weak. It's kind of thin.
Mhm.
Um, the characters aren't really that memorable, but the true star, the reason why it should be seen is because there is a significant effort made to use practical effects. And I think the production design, they absolutely nailed the look of like the future that is forecasted in like Alien and Aliens. Leans a little heavily on the like, it's not very subtle in its kind of like takedown of capitalism, but at the same time, it's like,
Never was.
yeah, it never was, but it doesn't do it as well, I think, as like Alien does, where like they kind of embedded in the dialogue. This is more like exposition.
Mhm.
So, but anyway, the practical effects, there are some genuinely great scenes. Um, there's not a lot of Alien. Like I was kind of disappointed by that. Like there are and there is and there isn't. And there's some really illogical like choices around physics that I'm like, well, this was not like I understand what you're doing, but at the
Mhm,
same time, I know I'm glad it's doing well. I don't think it is the savior. It is the Evil Dead rise of this franchise, where it's like it's fine.
mhm.
But what Alien as a series has in its favor is that the good are far lesser than the bad. Um, and my last comment is anyone that gave Alien Resurrection shit owes it a goddamn apology if you liked Romulus. Um,
I liked Alien Resurrection. I was totally fine with it. It's
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 Alien fan fiction. It's great. Like,
it's I always said, like, my headcanon was Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection are the dreams that Ripley has in hyperspace after Aliens about this new tingle of motherhood that she's experiencing. Like that's what those movies are. Um and yeah, 4 is just it's just so watchable. It's just
yeah,
fun, you know?
it's because I forget the. Is it what's his name? Is it Christophe Gans or who's the? It's a French person that did the.
Jean-Pierre Jeunet, who did
Yeah,
Amelie and the Lost Children.
like
Mhm.
he brings that kind of like European sensibility where you have these like weird. It's almost like what Guillermo del Toro did in Blade 2, where you have this like ragtag group of people that you just really like being around. Like they're not really good people, but they're really interesting.
Yeah.
And Ripley is such a different character this time in that movie that I think it's a movie that if people go back and rewatch it, yes, it has problems, but again, if you're going to enjoy something like Romulus, you have to give like Alien Resurrection at least another look. So that the last thing is Art of a Hit is a movie that I recently reviewed for the site, interviewed the filmmakers, coupled the cast. I really enjoyed this one. I do think it's important to acknowledge that it's not, full on horror. It's really more kind of psychological thriller. Does have some good horror beats, but for anyone that's into music or if you've ever been in a band, um, I think you'll really resonate with a lot of this. And it's just really well produced, really kind of funny. So definitely check it out. But yeah, that's all on my watch list. That's not all of it, but that's the highlights. We because we don't always get to watch the greats, as you know.
No, we find them eventually if we don't see them right away. But yeah, looking
It's
forward to Romulus and eventually Cuckoo.
yeah. I mean, I'm curious to hear what you think about both of them when you get a chance to see them. But as we always do at this time, it's a little bit of news. See what's been happening in the great worldwide webs of Macabre Daily. And again, if you are listening or watching this, hopefully you're already following us. But if you're not, please do give us a like, give us a comment. Even if you
Click
don't
that
like us, hate follow us. That's okay. We'll take those. So
to the bank.
um yeah, to the hey, swish. We don't make any money doing this, but maybe one day. Who knows? Anyways, to the news. So Nev Campbell talks about what convinced her to return to Scream. Do you want to take a guess what it was?
That she's the star and Kevin Williamson's directing, which is something that none of us are talking about, and we should, because holy shit, this is going to be the last Scream film, at least of this cycle, but hopefully the last Scream film. And it's being directed by the guy who wrote the original. Like, come on, sign me right up.
Uh, I'll come back to that. But what I will say is, you nailed it. She's the star. It's her story. So if nothing else, I think we're going to get closure, which I think is nice. And I think we can all agree that these characters. I don't know if we can all agree, but I think many would agree that it's time to maybe retire them.
I feel
Um,
like they didn't even have to come back. I mean, look, it's great seeing Courtney Cox and Nev Campbell and David Arquette again, but they didn't need to come back for the new Screams. Great to see them, not looking to gift horse in the mouth, but like if you want to continue the franchise, you could have done it, you know, without them. It would have been different, but it still could have been Scream. But since you brought them back, like end strong is what I would say.
yeah, yeah. Well, I know that this will probably get more news, but the fact that we're not hearing a lot, Lowell, probably means that there's just not a lot to share. Because even at the time that we reported on this, there still wasn't a script. So, um, yeah, we there's it's not a long road ahead, but it's a road. So we'll see. I mean, certainly 2025. I'm guessing like end of summer 2025 is when we're going to get Scream, but who knows? Bruce Campbell is coming back to play Ash in cartoon form.
Love it. Love it. I didn't
So
Now I forgot, is this a TV show or a new film?
no, I'm not sure. They there are going to be two more movies that they're working on, but those aren't kind of related to the Ash storyline. And then the animated one, it hasn't really like maybe a series, but it sounds like an idea was pitched and somebody liked it, but no one's actually greenlit anything yet. Um, I'm based off of my reading of Bruce Campbell's quotes, but yeah, he'll do it because voice acting is great at his age, great at
Yeah.
anyone's age, really.
And yeah, I also Evil Dead seems like a series that would lend itself very well to animation. I mean, it's half a cartoon already thanks to Sam Raimi. So, yeah,
I mean, they did have puppets they did have a puppet episode in Ash versus Evil Dead.
yep,
So yeah, it's already there. You're right. This will be exciting. I mean, I'm definitely gonna watch it. Lowell, were you ever a Legacy of Kain fan when
no, I missed out on these, but it seemed like it should have been up my alley. Like, aren't you a vampire who kills demons? How did I miss this?
yes, and you're a vampire that kills other vampires, and there's two different vampires, Kain, and then there's Raziel, and Raziel doesn't even he's like missing his mouth and he just sucks their souls in. It's an amazing game. But for the longest time, these games have like been pretty much forgotten. There's a long and really great, interesting kind of articles out there about video game preservation and why we are in fear of danger of losing it. But to the point, they're bringing it back in a graphic novel, and I gotta say, this Kickstarter opened yesterday.
Mhm.
Guess how much money it's generated in a 24 hours?
30 grand?
$800,000.
Jesus Christ.
Their
Good for
goal was 25,000.
I always wonder
So,
when that happens. Like, I'm so happy for the Kickstarter people, like the companies that do it. But then, what do you do for stretch goals? Like, when it's the
well,
beginning of your campaign, how do you handle that?
so I'm not gonna spoil it too much here, but I would encourage everyone to check out their Kickstarter because if you're a fan, they really do have like I think one of the reasons why this is so well received is because they've been working with Crystal Dynamics to basically create replicas and like authentic masks. So one of the perks that you can pledges that you can do is like you can get I think it's only $300 too. Like you get all of the different copies of the graphic novel, a record, and you get like a mask. So there's a lot of different interesting perks that they have. Skateboard decks, like it's not one of those where they just kind of didn't come plan prepared to like really
Uh-huh.
knock it out of the park.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm really excited. And supposedly they are working on a remaster of these games, the Soul Reaver games specifically, because the Legacy of Kain game is, it's a deep cut. It's not would require a lot of reworking for the modern era. But supposedly those are coming at some point. We don't know. So yeah, this is exciting. If you're into these games and these in this series, you should absolutely check this out. They're the same company, Bitbot's also doing a Deathgasm like half sequel. They're doing like a Deathgasm 1.5, which is going to act as a bridge between the new film that they're currently in production on.
Which I kickstarted, and I'm so glad it's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, exciting stuff in the world of crowdfunded horror.
Yep.
So yeah, everyone check this out. They don't really need our promotion much anymore, but nevertheless, give them your money if you got it. So Halloween is getting two new video games. Do you hear about this?
Do you hear about this? Do you know about this?
You know,
Um,
yeah, you know.
know about it? Yeah, I saw the trailer for one of the Halloween games and the Evil Dead game that are both coming out in
The side
tandem.
scroller.
Yeah, and that Evil Dead game looks like a lot of fun. The Halloween game,
Halloween one, not so much.
it might be, but I have no idea what it is. It's like you're Michael Myers fighting other demons or something. I don't quite get it. I'm definitely getting the Evil Dead one because that looks like a slam dunk. But Halloween, I don't quite understand. I kind of don't understand how it becomes a video game in the first place, unless it's like an asymmetrical multiplayer
That's
game.
what this is gonna. So this
Did
one's
they
gonna be
say that's what this is
asymmetrical.
going to be? Oh, all right.
So there's two of them. So the one that you're talking about, the side
That's a
scroller,
side quest,
that's a different company. And
right?
what those look like to me is like that they're basically reskinning like a game that they've made. So it's kind of like they're just because the Evil Dead and the Halloween one kind of looks similar, not just visually, but also like play wise. But I do agree that the Evil Dead like just lends itself. Like there's that one where he's like putting on the chainsaw, like in Army of Darkness. I'm like, that's
Um,
but Michael Myers doesn't really have that, like that's not. And also, Evil Dead has had some great games, not just talking about the asymmetrical one, but the Hail to the King games
Fistful,
back in like the
love it. Golden
those were
Chainsaw,
so good.
yeah.
But this is going to be an asymmetrical game by the same people that did Evil Dead. And for what it's worth, I thought the Evil Dead game was one of the better asymmetrical horror games. I do
Yeah,
have Texas Chainsaw. I don't like it as much. But I also suck at these games, so maybe that's part
yeah.
of it. You have to play with other people, but
This I think I might play with other. I mean, this seems like it'll be very. I mean, I'm just projecting, but it seems very like it's going to be stealth heavy. Um,
yeah.
like what are you going to play as different characters from the? Well, maybe not. I don't know, but like it's I feel like there's less variety in a Halloween kind of game like this. So it's like if there is going to be a lot of sameness, it better be really good. But I mean, it is like the granddaddy of slasher franchises, so it might be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely gonna buy it because I just think owning these is like part of. I think it's cool to have like video games after these properties, even if the games fucking suck. So, I still need to get the Killer Clowns one, but yeah, I will certainly give it a shot. But I do think it's gonna probably play a lot more like the Friday the 13th game, which I think is probably like, well, that kind of set the tone, like Dead by Daylight did.
Mhm.
I do think that's one of the lesser interesting ones than as compared to like where it's gone with Evil Dead and Killer Clowns. Even Killer Clowns is a lot more like kind of action between both sides. So, I mean, they certainly have the right company. John Carpenter's behind it. We know he loves the game, so um, we can only hope good things.
Yeah.
We got another Osgood Perkins movie coming, and it's an adaptation of a Stephen King short story from the Night Shift compilation, which also gave us um,
Children of the
yeah, what were the
Corn,
other.
Maximum
Yep.
Overdrive.
Uh, so I don't know. The trailer doesn't really give us a whole heck of a lot, which is what I'm okay with. But I also know what this story is about, and yeah, it's pretty straightforward horror. It's not.
Yeah, but
Seems a
Osgood
little less Osgood Perkins. And
That's the thing. He doesn't really do much straightforward horror. So if this is his bid at like mainstream genre fare, I kind of wonder what that'll be. I'm very curious. I mean, yeah, it's got my money. Um, but yeah, I see those three names together, Stephen King, James Wan, and Osgood Perkins, and I'm like, huh, I don't quite know what that's going to be, but I look forward to figuring it out.
well, the person that gets paid, the person that's paying, and the person that's responsible for good or bad. So,
One would
but I mean, yeah, exactly. The fall guy or the hero. So um he will definitely not be the fall guy. He's got too much goodwill in the horror community at this point. But yeah, I mean, I don't besmirch the man. I am certainly going to see this. I hope it's good. Like Theo James, thought he was great in White Lotus. Perfect kind of fuckboy douchebag. So Um, exciting stuff. Well, it's almost that time of the year again, Lowell. It's
Yeah, it
almost
is.
Fantastic Fest season. I know you're going to be doing this virtually. I'm going there in person for the first time.
Awesome.
Did you check out this lineup?
It's pretty stupid. I mean that
Yeah,
I mean that in the way the Gen Z uses it or whatever appropriate
it's got the
generation.
Riz.
It is stacked. Like my
Yeah,
goodness. I don't know what's going to be available in the virtual screening room, but I mean, you're going to see some crazy shit. I hope I get to also. But I mean, I saw Coffee Table in the screening room last year, so
yeah.
I'm sure we'll be fine. But yeah, like it's yet another film festival that just spoils us.
I mean, I'm not a Terrifier fan, but I am excited to see the new Terrifier only because we get a chance to see it for everybody else does, and I did
Mhm.
check the runtime. It's 128 minutes. So
Cool.
apparently he didn't learn his lesson about shortening things. But hey,
Mm.
don't knock it until you watch it. I am excited about this honoring of Nacho Vigalondo. Time
Yeah.
Crimes is a really solid movie. I never saw Colossal, but
Oh, I love it.
uh,
You should
it's good.
absolutely. Yeah.
I heard it's really sad.
It's kind. I mean, the trailers
Or is
don't
that
tell you.
Okaj or something like that?
No, 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 no. That's the Bong Joon-ho movie. No, just
Yeah.
go watch Colossal. The trailers don't really tell you what it's really about. There are some surprising turns. Dan Stevens just plays a supporting role, kind of like a normal guy. But it's one of the best things Anne Hathaway's done. And
Hmm.
it's strange, but it sort of establishes the strangeness right away. And if you go with it, you'll be rewarded.
Well, I mean, I think I like Bigalongo's cut of his jib, so
Mhm.
I should check it out. But they're also going to have the new VHS, the Rosemary's Baby prequel, Apartment 7A, which,
We'll get to that.
hey,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it'll be good, but of course, is if The Omen didn't need a prequel, Rosemary's Baby definitely didn't need one. But
I
hey,
mean, it is being directed by the woman who made Relic from a few years ago, which I absolutely loved. But
very good.
I, we'll we'll talk about this later. We'll talk about this later, young man. Um,
Yeah, but the new Spider One movie, Little Bites. There's a ton of stuff that's going to be here, so we're going to be covering this. Um, and if oh, I've never seen The Fall, but I'm going to try and catch this there because I hear it's a stunning movie.
yes,
I really really like The Cell.
mhm.
I think Tarzan Singh is his name.
Or Tarsum. Sometimes he just goes by the first
Tarsem.
name.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I am curious about that. Um, yeah,
Well, we'll certainly have more, but 83 feature films. Holy shite. So definitely can't watch it all. And some exciting news on the vampire front.
yeah.
Lowell, I know you remember when we talked with your buddy Paul in
Mm.
February of this year, when we
Oh,
didn't know, is this movie ever going to, is WB going to write it off like they did Batgirl? And it turns out they're not.
hmm.
And I got to say, these are amazing stills.
Looks
these
pretty
um,
good. Yeah.
um, these are, and I by the way, you got to go look at Vanity Fair site if you want to see the full shebang. I'm not ripping off all their photos here, but um, I'm pretty excited. I will fair warn you, the Vanity Fair article does. I wouldn't say it goes into spoilers, but it really talks a lot about what you're going to see.
Mhm.
So I kind of skimmed it, and I once I started to see that, I'm like, I'm going to stop reading it so heavily. So if you're wanting to avoid kind of the why and the how, but Gary Doberman sounds confident in his movie, so I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I like Gary Doberman. I mean, I really loved the It movies, but some of the like Annabelle verse movies I was kind of lukewarm on. So I don't know if he's like saving it for like the really good stuff, but like this seems like it's going to be some top tier Doberman if I can. Um, but
Dollops of Dodderman.
oh yeah, but yeah, and I do think we're kind of due for another one of these if someone wants to take a crack at another Salem's Lot adaptation. It's one of King's early works, and it's very, very much a Stephen King book. So I'm curious to see the Gary Donovan movie.
Have you seen the sequel to Salem's Lot, Return to Salem's Lot?
No, but I have heard of it, and I believe Tara Reid is a little girl vampire. Is that right?
You have got to see Return to Salem's Lot.
I don't know. I
It's,
respect Larry
I don't know if
Cohen.
I'd call it a good movie, but I will call it an entertaining one.
Okay. I
It's definitely not Salem's Lot. Like it's almost
oh,
the antithesis of the movie of the first movie. But I think the first movie also gets put on a pedestal because of a couple of really great scenes. But if you try watching Salem's Lot again, it's 3 fucking hours. It is a long goddamn
what was
movie.
a TV movie?
It's a
Like,
yeah, TV
like
movie, yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, I'm excited to see the light of day. In October, we don't have a firm release date yet, but we do have October 2024. So that's
Wow,
better than nothing.
it's true.
They can't back out on us now, can they? We don't know. Well, we've reached that point in the episode where we're moving into our topic, which, as we talked about at the beginning, is our spicy horror opinions. We're putting all the peppers out on the table. And before we get too far into this, a couple of maybe just sentiments, or maybe I don't know how to call them ground rules, because Lowell, you and I know each other quite well. I feel like we have a good rapport and respect. But in general, even though we are giving our opinions here that may or may not agree with, these are just opinions. You don't have to agree with them. You can curse our names if you want to. You can agree with us, but above
And an
all, it doesn't
effigy?
really matter.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. As long as you don't get any of our hair, right? We're good, right? We are good. So yeah, just putting that out there that, while we all have unpopular opinions or things like that, we also have a responsibility to um, acknowledge that other people have opinions too. And like the famous saying says, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one and they all smell like shit. So, or they're all full of shit. So anyway, with that, Lowell, what is one of your first spicy horror opinions?
So, piggybacking a little bit on what we were talking about before with the Rosemary's Baby prequel, it's called Apartment 7A because everyone remembers what Rosemary's apartment in the building was, as well as the first Omen, which is a horror hit for this year, and that's great. But I want, as my first spicy horror take, quit it with the horror prequels. Just stop. And I say this as someone who's not a big fan of prequels in the first place as storytelling devices. I mean, unless it's like 100 something years in the past, like if it's Prey or even like The Acolyte, where it's like so divorced from the original thing that we're seeing, that makes sense. But I don't need to be watching the Rogue One of the Omen universe. Like, I'm sorry. I don't need to see, like, I don't need it to end exactly where we came in. And honestly, it feels like a lot of these movies, I feel like a lot of these movies are being Weinsteined, you know? In that, how the Weinsteins took horror scripts and just threw Pinhead in there and suddenly poof, you got a
Yep.
Hellraiser. I feel like that kind of sounds like what happened a little bit to the first Omen. Um maybe it didn't. Maybe
You
I'm
got
very
Miramaxed.
yeah, exactly. Like the Omen portion of it was a little shoehorned in. I don't care about who lived in Rosemary's apartment beforehand because I know she's dead. And oh, maybe she's not dead. Maybe she joined the cult and she's like a background character in the 1968 film of Rosemary's Baby. I don't know. I don't care. I know how these end and I am not interested. It takes a lot for me to be interested in a prequel. I mean, off the top of my head, the only one I can think of that I really loved in any genre was X-Men First Class, with Matthew Vaughn. I mean, when spoiler alert, I
And that was
guess.
based on a comic book. So that was based on a comic book storyline too, and it did a pretty good job adapting it. So
Yeah,
um,
when James McAvoy is Professor Xavier, gets shot in the spine at the end and gets paralyzed, I like gasped. And everyone knows who Professor X is. The wheelchair is part of the outfit. But in that moment, I was like, oh my God, I'm so wrapped up in this. I totally forgot what could very well happen at any moment. None of these are like that. None of them. I don't care. Move the story forward. Doesn't just sequels. Sequels, not prequels. I'm putting it on a bumper sticker. That's just me. Anyway.
You know what? That would be that's a great bumper sticker. You know, it's funny you bring this one up because I think one of my spicy opinions is actually very similar, it's just not the same, which is that nostalgia is ruining the horror genre. And it's not just the horror genre, but I'm
Oh, it's
focusing on
ruining
horror
everything.
because of the
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, but it's ruining everything. But the member berries of society are making it really difficult to enjoy things. And I think one of the things that I think if we divorce ourselves from kind of our kind of opinions for a moment, remember that nostalgia is a marketing trick. It is used to trick you psychologically into reverting back into a state where you felt happier, better, things were different, simpler. And the entire intent, it's like comfort food. It's like it's meant to bring you back to a place that's familiar and safe. But the problem with familiar and safe is that those are almost the complete opposites of what good horror is, familiar and safe. And I think to some extent, our kind of consistent trying to tie loose ends together, make cohesive stories, kind of diverging storylines, like retconning things, it can be fun, but it also reaches a point kind of like superhero movies where you get fatigued, where it's just okay, like I don't want to see like I know by saying this I might be making it happen sooner rather than later. And again, everyone enjoyed my cat just absolutely going to town on her private parts.
My
But
dog.
um, but you know, we're not too far away from a fucking Freddy Krueger prequel, you know, and you know it's going to happen as soon as they finally figure. As soon as we get a 4K box set of all the movies, immediately after is going to be announced a prequel movie.
You know what?
And
It's
the
worth the
only
price. We get that 4K box set. I'll kill a chicken. I'll kill a chicken right on Zoom. I don't care. Give me my Nightmare on Elm
well,
Street.
I mean, if we're talking trade offs here, I'll take that trade every day. But I more mean that you know there's probably a reason why we don't have a 4K box set, and it probably has to do with money and rights.
Mhm.
So once those get figured out and people can get paid, or whoever owns something gets more money, then I'm sure we will see all the floodgates, kind of like the Crystal Lake stuff. Once the Friday the 13th, you know, law stuff got cleared up, then all of a sudden everything started getting greenlit again. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I think nostalgia, again, it's a great tool, but it is a tool, it is not a kind of genre in and of itself. And I think we're dangerous, especially with Alien Romulus, dangerously close to a place where nothing is going to feel familiar. Like everything's going to feel same. Everything's going to feel new. Nothing's going to feel new, and it's going to just get stale and staler and staler. So yeah, nostalgia. Use it sparingly.
We've
Try and
all
avoid
learned
it.
the wrong lessons from Stranger Things, which is a show that I absolutely love. I'm serious. Like I honestly think it's a little underrated for like what people talk about when they talk about it. It's very well written, well acted, well constructed, but it appears like member berries from the outside. That's a great term for it. But basically, I don't care about any kind of tie-in that show has if it's not coming from the two brothers that created it, it's not Stranger Things to me. Like if it's not an episode of the show. So, I mean, you can't really blame them for that part of it. But I mean, that's definitely a property that's been exploited till death. But
It's
hey,
not
man,
even the property that's been exploited. It's like they. You're right. Like they kind of. They were the. They were the spark that lit the fuse. You know. It's like all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, we can just throw it all back like a decade, and people just sop this shit up. Um, but anyway, time's a flat circle. So
slurp it up, bitches. Okay. This may seem spicy, but I don't find it controversial at all. Um, Lucy, where are you? Um, I think The Exorcist Believer was fine. It was fine. It wasn't.
So when you say fine, what do you like? What do you mean?
By the way people were reacting to it online, I was expecting like a hot dump in a car accident. It was not. It was made by someone who knows how to make films and who understands the visual language of The Exorcist and knew what they wanted to do and how they wanted to do it, which is David Gordon Green, who I know we're all like making flee and shame from the horror genre after the past few years, but we shouldn't because he is a good filmmaker. You might not agree with what he does, but you can't say that he's just completely ruining it. I mean, my God, you make a sequel to The Exorcist. Anyone else in the world try to make a sequel of The Exorcist? The Exorcist Believer is a solid 3-star movie. It doesn't need Ellen Burstyn and Linda Blair. Spoilers, I guess. It could have just been the best story in the world. But I cannot believe it's a hill that so many people want to die on, and that it's hated so much by people who love the first Omen too. Like what? I just I don't get it. I don't get it. It's fine. Save your vitriol for something else. That's all.
You
Dedicated.
know, um, I tend to agree with you on this, but only from the perspective of that while it wasn't great, it was fine. And
Mhm.
it definitely wasn't as bad as it could have been. And it had some good ideas. But I think kind of what we just talked about, sometimes when you hitch your horse to that wagon of legacy,
Mhm.
you're kind of setting yourself up to really, you're never going to please everybody. And I think to
Especially
some
the
extent what
fans.
you're talking,
Mhm.
yeah, especially with The Exorcist, which has like such two entries that are quite beloved. Um, One of them is considered still one of the greatest, if not the greatest, to some horror movie of all time. So, and that's not even that debatable of an argument. It's not even a hot take to say The Exorcist is the greatest
And
horror film of all time. So, kind of riffing on that though, you did say something that kind of made me think of one of my spicy opinions here, which is you talked about kind of the hypocrisy, if you will, of in celebrating the first Omen, but not liking, but giving Exorcist believers shit. And
mhm.
I think some of this is has to do with my take that social media is ruining film criticism. Um,
That's not
and
a spicy take. That's 100% correct. You nail that shit home.
I'll be more specific. I think influencer culture is not criticism. Um, I think where we've reached a point where how can you possibly do any movie justice in 3 minutes of talk?
Mhm.
And the fact that it takes so long to make a movie that you're reducing it down to 3 minutes, sometimes less, like 30 seconds, it just goes to show that we're treating things as disposable now, which, you know, granted, there are plenty of movies that are made as kind of disposable entertainment. I mean, VOD is to some extent kind of, I don't want to call them throwaway movies, but there is a business behind a lot of those movies where they're not trying to make high art. They know exactly what they're making, and they're doing that because there's a certain amount of money to be made doing it. But I think we're confusing people that we like because they're either aesthetically pleasing or they say things that we agree with people that are actually giving us things to think about. And film criticism, and this particularly when it comes to horror, it's all about the vibes these days. And maybe I sound like old man yelling at sky, but you know, the reason why I guess the reason why it's we're not seeing as much traction with horror. I guess why mainstream horror is falling so behind indie horror is because we keep paying to see the same shit. They keep making it for us. It's like McDonald's doesn't change the recipe when sales are going strong. So as much as we all hate on whatever new studio movie came out, someone's going to see it, and people are paying enough money to justify their continued existence. So show up with your money. Stop listening to people on the internet just because you follow them on the internet. And this is not a push. Obviously we have some bias because we write for a website. But that's not us saying that we are somehow in an ivory tower. More for me to say that I think don't listen to everybody. Find people who you think who make you think, who will challenge you, who will get you to consider or watch things that maybe you haven't. Read reviews for movies you loved, and read reviews for movies you hate. Read reviews about movies that you liked that people hated. Read everything, because oftentimes perspective can help us see things we didn't see before. But again, it challenges us. And in some ways, Letterbox, as much as I loved it, is kind of at fault here as well, in that we're reducing things to really funny quips that you can summarize in less than a tweet, right? Like sometimes top reviews are Dan Stevens made my panties wet. Like that tells you nothing about the movie. But because people agree and it's about the vibes, the top criticism. So again, there are some genius people out there writing amazing takes on horror that go far beyond I loved it or I hated it. And there are people that are giving serious critical thought into the genre. I mean, how we had Ariel Powers-Shab, who did an amazing kind of look at the millennial nasties, which I can absolutely see that becoming a term that just takes off now. So yeah, that's my maybe not spicy take, I guess, that influencers are not critics and social media is ruining criticism.
I mean, I like Letterbox for the reason why I used to like Twitter. It's just like a taste. It's not everything. Like, you're not getting your vegetables there. It's just like, it's just like a side of fries, It's just fun to look at. But like you can't like make it your entire personality or
Yeah.
like get all of your thoughts from there. And read critics you disagree with. You know,
Yes.
like read bad reviews of movies that you love and good reviews of movies that you hate. It's very instrumental. I always read Angelica Jade Bastian, who writes for Vulture and a
Mhm.
few other magazines. She is brilliant. She's also kind of nuts, and I do strongly disagree with her sometimes, but like she thinks about things, and I always appreciate reading her point of view, whether or not I agree with it. So these people are out there, find them.
And you know what? To make my point on this, this just came to mind is like when IGN and IndieWire both gave Alien Romulus pretty like average ratings,
Mhm.
people were furious. Like, how dare you besmirch the name of Fede Alvarez, or how dare you? This is the best alien movie we got in years. It's like, first of all,
And I
the
like
bar for
Fede
alien
Alvarez. Get
sequels,
the fuck out of here. Yeah.
the bar for alien sequels is not high. So to be the third best alien movie in the franchise is not the achievement that it's being prescribed as. Because as someone else said that I agreed with heavily, I would never want to make a sequel to Alien or Aliens because those are the two best movies in any franchise ever. They literally like Alien is a great movie, and Aliens is is a perfect sequel to that kind of movie because it doubles down on everything. It's like Terminator and Terminator 2,
Yep.
right? Same shit. So same guy, almost. But so yeah, just I was watching that backlash to their reviews, and it's like, first of all, these people, like the people that wrote those reviews, they watch movies for a living. Not to say they have their opinion matters anymore, just that their job is to give up an opinion that is as objective and informed as possible. And if you read those reviews, which most people just read headlines, right? Read the reviews, you'll notice that there's a reason why a score is low or high. And whether you agree with it or not is beside the point. What is important is that is this person making valid arguments that support their overall thesis of whether the movie is good or bad? Instead of, oh my God, it was so great, like in a violent nature. Yes, the kills are amazing. But the best criticisms about that movie were that there's nothing else to it. Like that's just it, you know? And people got upset. It's like, oh, how dare you? It's like, no, like, first of all, it, that's valid criticism. Whether you agree with it or not doesn't matter. But it's valid criticism because that is an objective point of view. There really is nothing else happening. Whether you like that or not, that's subjective. But objectively, there's no plot. There's nothing else. It's just follow Jason Jr. through the
And if
forest.
and if you disagree with that, go write your own review.
Yeah.
like really consider it, and you'll see that you might be agreeing with the people that you're just trashing if you think about it critically just for a second.
And sometimes those like counterpoint reviews where someone's like, I'm going to take down this specific person's review, like line by line, those are amazing and they're therapeutic, right? They're fun to read. It's fun to see this is how you see it, this is how this person sees it. So, yeah, challenge yourself. Don't listen to every with people with the most followers. Just listen to people that make you think.
Yeah, except for the ones who can't shut up about anything Zack Snyder does. Just avoid those people at all costs. Just
Snyder
Zach,
Chan,
I'm sure you're a nice guy, but your fans, man. Ugh.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to call any personality judgments here, but
Yeah.
you have to be a narcissist to make the length of movies that Zack Snyder is making now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people with like anti-suicide websites in their Twitter bio should be telling people to kill themselves all the time, which is kind of what what's happening there.
You just summed
Um,
up the internet. You just summed up most people on the internet that are too online.
yep, that's it. Wow, so your takes are kind of broad. Mine are more movie and filmmaker specific, which is
I'm getting
interesting.
more. I'm getting more nuanced here. So these are
Oh, okay,
those are
I'm
the
just throwing
side
spaghetti at
takes.
the wall mostly. So Wes Craven was known for being somewhat involved in the remakes of his films. And that was another thing. I just rewatched his the Aja's Hill Have Eyes, Alexander Aja's Hills Have Eyes, fucking fantastic. And I met Michael Bailey Smith, who played Pluto in it at New Jersey Horror Con. And I told him that his final fight scene with Aaron Stanford is like one of the best in horror. And he told me he won an award for that. And I looked it up and he did. Like I
Wow.
think Saturn Award or a Stunned Award or something. I'm like, yeah, still hits. Um, but but yeah, there's one film of his that absolutely deserves to be remade. The finished product wasn't great. I think he would agree with you, but it's his second to last film, My Soul to Take, which is the last script he directed. It is not a great film because it is really just a first draft. Like you can kind of tell it needs a few things changed and smoothed out, but just like every Wes Craven film, it is so chock full of ideas. Like he was brilliant all the way to the end, and this cannot be the last version of this story of this film that we see. Someone needs to pick up the baton in this case. I'm not saying remake every Wes Craven film. Um, Looking at you, Platinum Dunes, looking you right in the eyes and staring you down. But it's man, it's every time you watch a movie and say like, "Oh, this could have been so much better," this is the Citizen Kane of that. This is the movie where it's like it's all there, but it's not congealing, and someone can make this congeal.
I still have not seen this.
You should just
Yeah.
just to know what I'm talking about, but you'll see what I mean. It's fascinating how wrong it goes, but there's some good stuff about it, but yeah, I feel
For a
like I
second,
want.
I was confusing. I was confusing Toby Hooper's. I thought I thought Wes Craven did "I'm Dangerous Tonight," but it was Toby Hooper. I was gonna say like Wes Craven definitely has some wild ideas out there. Have you seen "I'm Dangerous Tonight"?
I have not, but Scout Tafoya, who wrote the book on Toby Hooper, really likes it. Literally wrote the book, Cinemophagy. It's on my shelf.
It's about a killer dress.
That's
So
what I've heard. Mhm.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna watch Soul to Take just so I can see if I how violently I agree or disagree with you on that take.
Very
Um,
curious to see what you have to say.
well, speaking of movies specifically, I have some good ones here. I'm not sure which one is the hottest take. Scream should have stopped at two.
Mm,
Um, so I think the first two Scream movies, and I don't love the first one as much as I used to. I think it's just because it is very good. Like it's just I've seen it so much though that it's like it's almost like Halloween where it's like I've seen it so many times that it almost feels like I'm I'm not even like I'm out of body experience watching it most of the time. It's like, oh, I'm bored. I know the lines, like, but um, even though I like Scream 4, like I only like it because it exists, but kind of Schrodinger's Scream here, if like they didn't happen, like I'd be okay, like I wouldn't need to know what else goes on. And I know people love the Scream franchise as a whole. They don't really like 3 or 4. That's kind of divisive, but many seem to agree that 5 and 6 are quite good. Um,
Quite good.
yeah, I don't know if they need to exist. And I think it's largely because Scream in and of itself to me was always meant to be kind of a joke. Like even though it's a really good horror movie, it's also a really good parody of horror movies. And I think that humor got lost like the longer the series went on because they were trying so hard to wink at you about it. Like the requel thing. I'm like, okay, I get what you're doing, but like you're nostalgizing me again, and like it was doing it maybe before it was so heavy on the horror genre now as it is now. But yeah, that my personal opinion on Scream is that after 2, it just shouldn't. It's just rehashing the same storylines, beats with new characters and a different coat of paint.
Well, one of the things that I love about the Scream franchise, and you're right, I mean, it hasn't hit the heights of those first two, but one of the things I love about it is there are no cliffhangers. Each film has a definitive ending, and it
So
could be the end of the franchise because it tells a whole story. There's no, even when like the killer pops up at the end in whatever entry, they shoot them back down. It's
yeah,
no dangling threads. I do like the new ones, but like I know that they're lesser, but they're still good. But honestly, I like them better than 3 and 4. Like 3, I think I convinced myself that I like for the longest time, and I'm like, yeah, it doesn't really come together. 4 is very prescient in a lot of ways that I appreciate, but just doesn't really do it for me. But I've heard people say that there are no bad Scream movies, and I can listen to that argument. I don't necessarily agree, but like it's nice to know that there's a franchise out there where like you can say something like that and it's not immediately like, "Oh, you're out of your mind." You know?
I mean, you could say that though about Child's Play, Final Destination. Um,
No and no. I'm
yeah. Oh,
telling you
you could.
right now, no and no. But especially with
I
Final Destination. Holy
Scream
shit.
5 and Scream 6 are no better than the last 2 Chucky movies.
They're better than Cult of Chucky. And
And
I like
I
those
would go
films.
so far as to say the reason I prefer the last 2 Chucky movies over Scream is because at least they're trying to double down on their canon rather than just go back to what was done before and try and make it new again.
That's true. That is
It
true.
doesn't always work. It doesn't always work, but god damn it, has Don Mancini continued to surprise the fuck out of me and probably every other person on the goddamn planet with how
Yeah.
he's kept it going.
Yeah. But they're also
So,
trying to do different things, It's almost like not even fair to like compare them, But I don't know. I'm
I mean,
looking
they're
forward.
both self-aware. They're both very self-aware
Yeah.
in meta. They're both poking fun at the genre. They're also trying to produce. I do think Chucky it's far more playful than Scream, whereas Scream tends to err towards more like this could actually happen. Child's Play is like, wouldn't this be fucking crazy if Chucky could clone himself? You know,
I will say before 4Ks were a thing, I was at Target, and I don't think I owned either of them on Blu-ray yet, but I found a 2-pack of Scream and Scream 2 for like $5, and I'm like, oh, that's perfect. That's all I need. Like that's it right there. I don't need to
you're
own
putting
a
that in a time capsule. So if, like this whole world goes to shit and aliens find it someday, be like, oh, there's only 2 Scream movies. Great. They'll never
that's
have to know.
that's all. That's all we need. Yeah. Cool. So this one might just be wrong. Um, you might just slap me in the face and say this is totally incorrect because I'm sure this film is considered exploitation. But I truly do not think the original I Spit on Your Grave is an exploitation film. Not in the truest sense of the word, not in the way that it was made. it was marketed as that, and the world thinks it's that. But watching this film,
You're talking
there's
about the original or the
yes,
remake?
no,
Okay.
the original Myers Archie from 1978. There is so much female nudity in this, but absolutely none of it is intended to be titillating. Like even when you first see, the main actress Camille Keaton, like just take a dip in a lake, it's like, it's her vacation house. She's alone. Yeah, she'll take off all her clothes and go in, but you just see it from a distance, just as like an establishing shot, and it's so good that like I'm not saying it's like critic proof, but it just goes above and beyond what you think this movie's going to be. I mean, I got it from Netflix when they were still doing discs, and I forgot that I reserved it, and I was like, oh yeah, I did want to see this at some point. All right, let's feel bad, and then I put it on, and yeah, no, the rape scenes are horrific, and they go on very, very long, but it's a film about revenge and about how stupid and evil men could be, and it's actually really smart. And I was just kind of surprised that like this of all horror films is the film that Siskel and Ebert hated more than any of them. Like this, like not Friday the 13th part 5, which is basically porn with some blood, but like I beg anyone to like reconsider this film because I was just so surprised by it. I don't go back to it a lot. It's not the easiest watch, don't get me
No.
wrong, but it doesn't feel like the filmmakers at least are saying, you know, check out these genitals.
So, have you ever seen Coralie Farger's Revenge?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Would
I
you
bet.
consider that an exploitation movie?
Mm, I don't think so. Rape
Okay.
revenge for sure, but just exploit in terms of like what the filmmakers had in mind, I definitely don't think so. I think they'd make an interesting double bill. Still hard to sit through, but yeah.
So, I guess my next question for you on this is: do you believe that being exploitative, and being a like well-made movie are exclusive?
No. It's about intent. I guess what I'm saying is the intent to exploit this poor woman, this poor character in I Spit on Your Grave isn't there the way many of its critics think it is. And granted, I am like a man and a straight cis man, so maybe I'm like a little colored with it, but it's not
Because
trying.
Carol Clover agrees with you, doesn't she? Like Carol, like she might call this. I think she labels this in the exploitative genre, but her take on it is similar to this, which is that it's probably the most effective and intelligent of the exploitative. But the reason why I think it's exploitative has to do with the fact that it deals with taboo topics, and most exploitative films deal with
That is true.
taboo. So the idea of rape revenge, the idea of rape in and of itself is taboo,
Yes.
but the idea that there's retribution to that is actually far more fantastical based on what we know about how justice isn't really served in
I
particularly
agree.
rape cases. So it
Yeah.
does kind of play out this almost feminine revenge fantasy of, instead of being it's almost exploitation, but it's not exploitation for the male gaze, right? It's
Yeah.
exploitation for the
Yeah.
female.
That's true. Yeah.
Femsploitation. Maybe that's what it, I mean, I don't know if that's a term, but there is like movies that, like, I would put Revenge in that same category. I'd also put things like Ginger Snaps to some extent, where it's like the women in there are not, they're not, and it's not exploitative. I guess that might be a bit of a stretch, but there are like if I had more time and off the cuff, I'd think of more movies. But Thriller, even like the old like I think it's German movie. She had, they call her one, Thriller, they call her One Eye. Um,
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Ms. 45, that's another one where it's like these movies do exploit the violence, right? They're exploitative in the violent sense, but they're not so much exploitating in the taking advantage or putting down or demeaning.
Yeah, that's more of what I was talking about. But no,
Yeah,
yeah, thematically, you're right. I just imagine this director like meeting with producers and distributors for the movie and just nodding along like, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. They have no idea what I'm gonna give them. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's gonna seem like it's what they want, but it's not, it feels almost like he's pulling a prank on people, you know?
yeah,
Like I don't know. I was just to me, like the sequence that makes the film is when she comes back after they think she's dead, and one of the main rapist is just like, "Ah, you're back for more, eh?" And it's like, wouldn't you think that the woman that you raped and left for dead is coming back to seek revenge? And he doesn't. He thinks like, "Oh, I loved it and I want more," and he follows her back home to her house and gets in the tub with her. And you're like, what the fuck is happening? And then it's just like,
it's
it's
great.
absolute justice, but it's like, that's the film that guy wants to make. There's a reason why he married Camille Keaton after that. Like, it's
I,
that,
I think one of the things I would take, like one thing I'm like my thought emerging from what you're saying is that I think I Spit on Your Grave gets classified as trash when it really isn't.
yeah,
Um,
correct.
and
That's what
I
my
think
take
it's
should have been, but yeah.
and I think it's really easy to look at it in the same way if you look at something like Martyrs and saying like, oh, this movie's just exploitative garbage. Like, well, you could say that, but that's
But
just taking it on its face value. If you're really looking into like the themes and what's being said here, it's far deeper.
yeah.
And I'll defend the fuck out of that movie to the day I die. Same um with Inside and like the way it kind of plays with like the idea of like the fears of motherhood and all these things. Like it's
Mhm.
subtle, but it's there. And it's like then done to the like the it's turned up to 11, right? So I'm with you. Those movies, I think a lot of exploitation movies, I would remove Last House on the Left from that only because there are some certain choices made that really make that movie like really hurts the impact, like the funny music that the cops.
Wow. Mhm.
If you take some of that stuff out, it's like it's just as affecting film, and it's darker because it's like this family is just like no one's the same after that. Like I think that's the thing that gets missed in really effective rape revenge movies is no one's the same. Like Irreversible, it's like you don't watch even the viewer leaves that and it's just like I don't know if I need a shower or to go to the bathroom. I don't know what's something's wrong. But
Bleach my eyeballs. Yeah. Hmm.
well, sticking with the movie theme, I have a few here, but I'm just gonna go with this one because I think it's the hottest take. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 is one of the best horror sequels of all time. Top five.
I'm not going to say no, but I'd like to hear your argument.
Yes. So I was originally going to frame this as Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is one of the best sequels of all time, but that's not a hot take because I think a lot of people would say that Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is an absolute like
A
it's
hoot.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hoot. But
Like why the Alamo
Leatherface,
Draft House was invented. Like that is the movie that you go to the Alamo Draft House to see.
yes,
Mhm.
yes. Like it is the reason why Rob Zombie makes movies, right? Like everyone says he used the original Texas Chainsaw. No, he was riffing on Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 every
Mhm.
step of the way. But anyway, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 Leatherface gets woefully like underrated, largely because I don't think a lot of people have actually seen it. People just talk shit about it and they remember the really cool cover, but they don't remember actually watching it. But you have Ken Foree in here. It is essentially Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the first one, but with all of the visual flair and kind of and presentation of the second one. So instead of having kind of all the audacity of like you know uh, um, chop top, and like the crazy like chase scenes in the car, like all that stuff is amazing and great. But like this is more contained. This is people lost in a swamp, and that happens to be where Leatherface and the family are. And it's
Mhm.
just insane. It sets the tone for what the next movie is, which Again, I don't love the Next Generation, but I have a weird respect for it because it's so fucking weird and off the wall. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 is just a really good Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. In fact, when everyone complains about recent Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, go watch 3 because it's exactly what everybody wants. It's got Leatherface chasing people around a fucking wood slash swamp. Got
Mhm.
good violence, got good gore. It's well shot, well made. It's not too long. It's like 90 minutes, right? In and out.
It's like the
Um,
mainstream version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre before
yeah,
the yeah.
it's the slasher. Yeah, it is the slasher version. Like even though we could call Texas Chainsaw Massacre a slasher, maybe that's a hot take. Is like I don't actually think it's that much of a slasher because there's not a lot of slashing. But I digress. It is, I think, what everyone thinks of a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie should be is Leatherface.
Yes.
So
Leatherface
um, I,
Chainsaw Massacre 3, not 2017's Leatherface.
correct. That would be an even that would be a Scoville level of 1 million spicy take.
God damn. Well, that movie was messed with in post, but it looks great. But you mentioned Rob Zombie before in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And once again, Scout Tafoya, who literally wrote the book on Toby Hooper, has a series of YouTube videos he puts together talking called like The Unloved, where he like praises movies that people might not love. And he loves 31. And 31 is pretty watchable. But in the YouTube video, he says that Rob Zombie basically has the career that Toby Hooper should have had, and I'm
Yeah,
like
if he
that's
would have been able to produce his own movies and basically just kind of do his own thing all the time, then
yeah.
we probably would have gotten a better life force. I don't know why people like that movie. I don't get. I get they get the breasts, but like everything else, like
I
respect the
don't.
audacity.
Yeah, and there's a lot of audacity. But my last spicy take is, I think Rob Zombie needs to stop making adaptations and IP films. Just
Oh,
stick to originals, please,
I don't.
because I
That's
just
mild salsa take right there.
I mean I've told you about my complicated thoughts on Rob Zombie. I think he's too interesting to be considered a hack. I will watch anything that he does, but I feel like he had to get the monsters out of his system. But the real hot take, he never should have made Halloween. Never. That that script should have been something that you found online and read and been like, "Holy shit, is this real?" Like, did a fan just put this together or is this real? And I actually read the script before the movie came out and I wondered that myself. I'm like, is this the actual movie they're going with? And I watched the movie and for better and worse, both really, it was. And he's quoted as saying like, "Well, they offered it to me." And I'm like, "Well, I have to do it or else someone else is going to mess it up." And like, no, it was the wrong. And here's the thing, if he made his own slasher, and I say this all the time, if you take Rob Zombie's Halloween and you change the mask and all the proper nouns, change the name of all the characters, the names of the town, change the mask, but keep everything else the same, you would have a classic that we would watch like every Halloween.
Yeah.
But it's got that Halloween baggage attached to it, but between that and the monsters, I'm glad he had fun, but like you can't put baby in a corner. You can't make Rob Zombie play in a different sandbox as willing as he may be, because it's always going to be a Rob Zombie movie. And the thing that you're maybe coming away wanting to see is a little bit tarnished by something that's neither fish nor fowl. So make 20 Lords of Salem. I'll sign up.
Oh hell
Whatever.
yeah.
But yeah, and even you know what? I didn't really like
But if he
3.
didn't do Halloween, we wouldn't get his Halloween 2. And I've become a
Yeah,
staunch defender of Halloween 2 because
but
it
but
does
that
things that work. They don't
yeah,
they
but
don't
he
work
doesn't
outside of the
need.
Halloween ecosystem.
But that's the thing. He doesn't. That should not have been a Halloween movie. That should have been
No, it
like
shouldn't have.
own movie. But yeah, There, yeah, two, man, it is very, very watchable. And I mean, he had to make two to become the filmmaker who made Lords of Salem. Like it was the war turtle on that Pokemon evolution, you
And
know?
he did something in two that I don't think anyone, and well, I'm not going to say anyone. I can't think of a slasher movie that has done this as well as Rob Zombie did in Halloween 2 when Danielle Harris playing Annie, like that, and where she dies, that
Uh,
shit is fucking gut wrenching. Like you feel it, and like the way that he put trauma in slashers long before anyone rebooted Halloween.
yeah,
Um, and so there's a lot of things that I think like I've said this before, and especially in the recent years, that like I think a lot of people, myself included, owe him an apology because we really ripped apart some of these things, but hindsight always gives us the blessing of clearer vision. And I think when we see what happens when like the studios get a handle of something and like, again, we all have our opinions on the Halloween trilogy that we've just got, but we can all agree it's uneven, like as uneven as all hell, and it doesn't feel cohesive. Very much like Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and Halloween 2 do not feel cohesive, but they do feel organic and germane to Rob Zombie. Um, so I mean, I actually agree with you that I think the more he sticks to what his doing his own thing that riffs on like Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino make the worst fucking remake of a movie ever because, well, okay, I guess he get in Glorious Bastards, but like you've seen the original Glorious Bastards, it's very fucking different than what Quentin Tarantino made.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, he would do a terrible job too because they're good at homage and turning that into original, whereas remake requires you to kind of have some fan service, and I think that's where they're not fan service people. They're a little smarter than that, I would say.
yeah. They got to go off rails, and remakes to an extent require rails, at least at a studio level. So
Well,
yeah.
I'll round my out with this one. I don't know if it's hot or not, but I think Bride of Frankenstein is the best Universal monster movie.
I've heard
Um,
that before. Yeah.
and I don't think it's a hot take because I think it's universally agreed that Bride of Frankenstein is like a great film. I think maybe Hotter might say it's better than Frankenstein, but again, I don't know if that's a hot take because Bride of Frankenstein it is so way ahead of its time in every fucking way. It's does things that no other Universal movie does as far as emotionality is concerned. It's perfectly paced. It's got amazing special effects, especially for the time. It's weird. It's like it's got James Whale's fucking hands all over it. Like him and Todd Browning were just up to the best kind of no good in the early Universal days. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but I think Bride of Frankenstein is the best iteration of Universal monsters to ever hit the screen. Oh
Nice. I
yeah.
have to watch that. Cool.
Well, this is fun. We were respectful. We didn't use too much foul language.
No chairs were thrown.
Yeah, no timeout corners. So this was fun. Yeah, I mean, I would encourage everyone to share your hot takes with us as well. But above all, just make sure again, just be respectful about them. It's okay to say you don't like Halloween Kills, but it's not okay to say David Gordon Green should jump in front of oncoming traffic. Like that's not. No one deserves that. So,
Do a list of this is okay to say. This is not okay to
oh
say. You
yeah,
can critique the Suspiria remake. You can't tell Luca Guadagnino to jump off a bridge. You just can't do
yep,
it. Not
yep.
cool.
That's not demure. That's not cutesy.
Yeah.
That's not at all. So, um, well, Lowell, I know we've got spooky season coming up, and you and I are going to be super busy with Fantastic Fest. So I'm sure we'll come up with a great idea for our next September episode. But I do think it's a good time to announce because the more I make this public, the more accountable I am to following through. We're going to start doing two of these. And something Lowell and I have been talking about is to try and deviate from our top five a little bit and we'll talk offline about this a little bit more, but I'm thinking things like something like a bonus features where we actually do like you suggested commentaries. Maybe we can set up watch parties and do these live and then record them. So keep an eye out over the next few months. We're going to start to introduce more of these, hopefully bring on some additional guests as well to help us out with these. I think it'd be really great to get the folks from Sinful Cuts, John and Shannon, to do a spot with us about a commentary, have the core four folks show up, have some of the other Macabre Daily folks. And if anyone wants to join us at some point, hey, just reach out to us. Let us know if you wanna hang, you want to come on an episode. As long as you're real, respectful, and you're wearing clothing, then hey, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. Join the MDU trademark 2024.
There
No,
it
we're
is.
not using that. We're not using that at all.
Nope. Nope.
No.
The Pooniverse. We're not going to the Macabreverse.
Shut your mouth.
Macabreverse. Or
Universe.
the what is it? What is it? The multi yeah, this the multiverses we're going to. So
Yeah.
in
Everyone.
another timeline, I'm Lowell and you're Matt. So who knows?
Who knows?
And Robert Downey Jr. is still every Marvel character. So
Yeah. Good for him. Make your money, Rob.
oh yeah, I mean, listen, to turn down that much money, absurd. You'd have to be certifiably insane to walk away from that. But it's a fool's errand. So with that in mind, enjoy yourselves, get ready for spooky season, be good, stay safe, and most importantly, just watch more horror movies. Just do it. It's not hard. Just do it. Adios.
Later.